Blake is an energetic little boy who until recently didn't know how to express himself without showing aggression.
Getting it was difficult. My nephew, he needed help. Tantrums all the time. He needed somebody to be there, and I was just there.
Patty Bray and her daughter Amanda took Blake and his sister Jada in through Child and Family's foster program. It's what's called kinship care.
Kinship care is not only relatives, but somebody who's involved with the family, that may be a family friend or a contact from school, somebody that knows the child prior to foster placement.
The kids call Patty Auntie, but she isn't a blood relative, just a close family friend who is willing to step in and provide for these children.
You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be full of money, or all they need is somebody to be just right there for them. All I did was feed him, dress him, take him to school, take him to the doctors. I mean, his needs need to be met.
Patty is humble, but the impact of her love, support, and guidance are already changing these children's lives. Jada has developed leaps and bounds now that she's getting the attention and nutrition she needs. And Blake?
I know you're hungry,
well,
bud.
just watch.
No.
And then we'll go.
I want it.
Oh, can't act like that. You have to have good behaviors, right?
Take a frustrating moment, talk to him about what he's done to try to cope with that prior, what options he has right now, and then is praising him for it.
You have to be patient. Patience, remember?
These are the things that are moving him along. It's not just being there. It's not just, being present. It's being an active parent.
A role Blake so desperately needed filled so he can be a little boy.
Yes, bud?
Now we can get a toy?
Pretty soon.
Close.
Dr. Raymond Miss has been practicing medicine for 12 years.
So we're coming down. See the triangulation speakler?
Yes.
It's called the transverse colon.
He's performed more than 6,000 surgical procedures in the past 3 years.
Procedure is colonoscopy with random biopsies.
But what makes this gastroenterologist unique is that he's partially deaf and legally blind.
It's silly. I could do a colonoscopy, take a polyp out of your colon. Well, but I can't drive a car.
Dr. Miss says his problem started 7 years ago when he developed hearing loss in both ears.
At the time, I thought it was the worst thing that ever could happen to a young person. But somebody always said, it could always be worse.
He wears hearing aids, and for a man whose dream was to help people feel better, life for Miss got worse quickly. A year and a half later, Dr. Miss developed optic nerve atrophy, central vision loss, and was declared legally blind.
Now my career, my personal life, everything is turned upside down. There was a fear inside of me that I might fail. I had too many negative things happen.
In his practice, Dr. Miss did some research of his own and discovered a magnification device that offsets his central vision loss.
So all of a sudden I was able to read my own charts, read hospital records. It basically magnifies the image, and it allows me to get really close to the image, correcting my visual loss to 20/25.
Okay.
Now, Arlene, everything looks great.
In order to get state certified again, Dr. Miss had to perform more than 60 procedures in front of multiple clinicians using the video equipment.
How do you find patients for a low vision physician to practice on, or even be credentialed on? And what the amazing part is, not only my own strength and courage, was the strength and courage of my patients who believed in me. Mr. Garvey waiting? Thanks.
Patients like Arlene Kalin.
I know that the hospital has provided him with the equipment so that he can see. And he's not only my doctor, he's my friend, and I feel very comfortable and safe with him.
These days, Dr. Miss is busier than ever. His practice continues to grow, and he has enough peripheral vision to walk around without any trouble.
But I have little fear now. People think, Ray, aren't you angry at God, your faith, your religion? And how can I be? Because the miracle is that I've gotten through this. And for that, I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving in the practice of medicine.
Fall River police and federal agents make a major bust today, cracking down on gang activity. I'm Parker Gavigan. We'll have that story coming up.
This is for stiffness. This is for the burning pain.
Rhonda O'Donnell takes more than a dozen pills a day, mostly all of them for pain.
I do take medications for it. I'm not saying pharmaceuticals don't help, but they don't take care of it all the way.
She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 11 years ago. It's now becoming more difficult to get around.
Pain and stiffness, which I have a lot of in my legs. If you were to see me get up, I can still stand and walk, but I look like Frankenstein, really stiff.
But after the House overturned the governor's veto, O'Donnell, a former nurse, is ready to try medical marijuana.
I've chosen not to do it until it was legal. So now that it's legal, I will try it to see if it helps my symptoms.
Senator Rhoda Perry pushed to get the bill passed. Her nephew died last year after suffering a long battle with AIDS.
The very idea that he could be arrested for using medical marijuana, even though it was recommended by one of his AIDS doctors, he would not use it.
Critics argue legalizing marijuana for medical purposes is a dangerous idea, but doctors say it will only be used for patients with a debilitating disease.
At first, those physicians who have a large number of patients with these types of conditions that would be helped will write, and as they become more experienced and we become more comfortable with the use of medical marijuana as prescribing physicians, then we probably would be more liberal in its use.
As for O'Donnell, she says if marijuana can alleviate any discomfort, it's worth a shot.